Hey, what's up? It's me, your girl Nia. I am coming to you from Black Exploration with Nia. Drinking your water and minding your business is the best when you literally have a chemical imbalance that is causing the personality defect of narcissism. I only want to talk about this because I have supported men through this. And I know that when men are in dark times, they drink alcohol or they have lots of sex. What value
can you
bring to this person and see in them?
So how much did you have to fix your relationship with yourself first in order to have a successful relationship with someone else? Even in the realm of dating.
When it comes down to it, people's opinions are not facts, it's just their opinions. Hey guys, it's me, your girl Nia, and you are back for an episode of Black Exploration with Nia. So I am here with the man himself, the producer, the soon-to-be serial entrepreneur, Justin Stanley. So Justin's gonna put some background information noise in there. Okay, so this is a really great episode today because I'm going to be giving you the in front scenes, behind the scenes man who has the master plan to take over the content creative world, and so you guys are getting introduced to him at the beginning of his legacy building.
Right.
So, Justin, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what is one thing you want them to take away from just their experience with this interview with you today.
So like she said, my name is Justin again. I started a podcast a few years back and just have been, slowly but surely growing it on my own, fully funded it myself and just taking pieces of my paycheck to, get to where I am today. I started off renting a studio out in Livermore and then decided to, I kept asking the engineer there, like, hey man, how does this camera work? I'm fully self-taught. So like I told him when I first met him, like, listen, I'm a sponge, so I'm gonna ask you a lot of questions and try to learn stuff, and I'm gonna try to do this on my own eventually. So this won't be a long-term thing. Shortly after the pandemic hit, luckily right before the pandemic hit, I went out and knocked out I want to say $1,000, and I just a little bit over $1,000, however much. But I knocked out I spent the whole day out there just knocking out content, just interviewing people. I had a schedule of I scheduled them 2 hours a piece, and I just invited 8 different people to come in a 2-day span. So I did 6 in one day and then 2 the next. And then long story short, that lasted me throughout the pandemic, and then the studio shut down out there. So it kind of forced me to, speed up into what I'm doing now. So I bought my first camera, and then I didn't know what I was doing, and I just got online and just started, making a lot of mistakes and just bumping my head. And now I'm actually about to move into another studio.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That means you've kind of, you've seen already. But yeah, man, it's a long time coming. I just want to keep growing and, keep offering a space of, I just want to be that resource I didn't have when I got started. You know what I mean? Podcasting is such a flourishing industry. And for somebody who watches them a lot and studies them, and just, I had something I wanted to say, and it's a way to just put out a message and mission. And a lot of things is podcasts are businesses, you know what I mean? And it's mine, I build like a business plan. You see what I'm saying? So it's there's so many opportunities and, just growing opportunities and things when it comes to the podcast world. And just something I want people to take away from this interview is just, when it comes to success is that thin line between your dreams and the reality, right? And it's there's okay for your definition of success to change, but the key is it has to be your definition of success. You know what I mean? You have to find what success means to you, and it's going to be different for everybody else. And you got to understand sometimes when you're sharing those dreams of success, and some of those people might frown up or not be excited as you want, they just don't understand because they're looking from their perspective. So.
Got you. Great advice. And then we're going to get, that's going to segue us right into the topic that we're going to be exploring, which is Justin's success story, right? His exploration of what that is for him. And as he's creating it in real time right now, we're going to explore what are some of the things that are entrenched in his experience and how can he give us just insight on what to look for if you're a person who's also on that journey and exploring success? So start me off and kind of allow me to understand why did you get into the let me see how I could put this question. When you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Initially, I wanted to, I play sports. So of course, the obvious one is a basketball player. So that was my main thing. And you want me to continue, or you want to?
Yeah.
So yeah, first it was a basketball player, and then obviously, I devoted my life to that. And then it became, when I got to high school, I started to learn. The older you get, the more information you get.
Yeah.
So you start to kind of see stuff for what it really is. So I started to learn that, okay, this basketball world ain't really what I thought it was. You know what I mean? It's not about the skill set. It's politics involved. And when that starts becoming reality, it's like, okay, it's not a fair shot, right?
Okay. So you, at a very early age, fell in love with the sport. And then as you continue to evolve in the sport, you realize that it's actually a business structure and mindset behind basketball. It's not just about the innocence of the game.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's weird because looking back in hindsight, just in my healing journey, I realized that basketball was my sanctuary, and it was the only place where I was allowed to freely think like I wanted to think, and nobody judged me, and I was praised for my ability to think in those situations.
Got you.
And what I mean by that is, like, when I would be in my everyday life or around my friends or family, and I would feel a certain way or think a certain way or react a certain way, I was always frowned upon. On the basketball court, that never happened for me. You know what I mean? I was pretty decent, so it was like, okay. And I thought basketball a different way than most people my age. And that's kind of why I became a coach so early and all those different things. But even now, it's hard for me to watch basketball because it was never entertainment for me. It was a way for me to exercise my brain and just find different ways to, succeed in that life.
So as you're exploring basketball, and now as you explore basketball, should I say, it's past tense, and you're exploring business, do you think that starting off in basketball helped you with your business mindset?
For sure. That's a part to it. It wasn't just a jump from that to that. It was some things in between. One being, so when I first got to high school, it was like, okay, everybody, what's your plan B? What's your plan B? So I was talking to my mom and my stepdad, and we were sitting on their bed watching TV like we always did. We still do to this day, which is crazy. But I'm having like visual flashbacks.
Yeah,
but
cool.
So yeah, we're sitting there and they're like, man, what do you want to be? And I was just like, we were watching something. I don't even know what it was. And they probably don't even remember this, but it was like, there was some nice building on the TV. And I was just like, man, I want to do whatever that is. Like, I want to design buildings. And they explained to me what architectural engineering is. So that was my next thing. So then I go to high school in Pleasanton for my first 3 years of high school. So I leave Oakland, graduate from middle school in Oakland, and then I go out there. That's another story. But so I take like early, engineering classes, and I'm learning how to, do all of these things that I never even had access to in Oakland.
Oh, wow.
So then fast forward, I transfer back to Oakland School my senior year. I get a Division I scholarship to play basketball. I pick my school because they have like a top engineering company. I go to that, amongst other things, obviously. I go to pick my major, and the athletic department wouldn't allow me to because architectural engineering would be too much schoolwork and play basketball.
Oh, wow.
So they tried to push me into criminal justice. I refused, obviously, and then, it went on from there. So then I wanted to be a basketball coach, like an NBA basketball coach. And then
Wait, I'm sorry. Because I did not know that. So based on basketball being a number one priority of why you're there.
To them.
To them.
Right, yeah.
They would not let you.
That's common though.
So it's almost like they tailor you guys into these.
It's not, you don't get a free pick.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you could, but they try to advise against it. Because again, if I'm a lot of people, and when they look, I don't want to say regular students, but a lot of non-athletic athletes at college, they look at the athletes as if you guys got it easy. You guys are spoiled. And some are. I had college teammates that couldn't even read, but they were 3.0 students. But there's a lot of cons to it as well, because even though we don't we don't have a job, we don't have to work full time. That sport is a full time job.
Yeah.
There's so many hours allocated that we're demanded to give to them per week, like by rule. Like they have, I think, 24 hours a week. That's what it was when I was in college. So that's what 4 hours a day for 6 days, right?
So that's a part-time job.
Right. But they find other ways to make optional workouts and different things to tweak around that. So it's optional, yeah, but it's optional. But if I don't come, I'm getting reprimanded on the backside. Oh, well,
Wow.
you didn't show up to optional weights. He did, so he's ahead of you in the depth chart. You see what I'm saying? I'm sorry, we're kind of off on a tangent, but this is like my journey.
No, because that is a place where I feel like we need to show like a lot more conversation around, because I have personally supported through my therapeutic practice men who have gone down that journey and thought that after college they were going to have this famous, fantastic career, and then things didn't go as planned, and just the emotional distress from that. I can honestly now clearly see why that would be so heartbreaking, because they sacrificed so much to not get the end result, and that's devastating.
Right. And then so take me for instance, right? Again, I mentioned to you in high school, I started thinking about Plan B. That's not normal for athletes, because again, this is me being self-aware, me being realistic with myself. Okay, I'm not being sought out as one of the best basketball players in the world. You know, I'm one of the best in my area, but now I'm competing against the world. So it's like, okay, I'm still getting recruited. I'm still, I don't want to say the man, but I'm still good. But I'm thinking in my head like I'm also falling out of love with it, because I'm seeing it for what it really is. It's like, okay, this coach doesn't even know what the hell he's doing as a coach, but he's in this position as my coach and he has my future in his hand.
Right.
When he gets mad at me because I'm speaking up in practice, just me being who I am, who I'm used to being, he's taking it as I'm trying to disrespect him. And no, I'm trying to help the team win, but he has such an ego problem that he's taking it as I'm attacking him. So now he's benching Justin. So now my future is in his. So it was just so many different layers to it that I'm starting to realize, and I fell out of love my freshman year of college. Right. And then I read an article that said college is for suckers. And the whole article talks about, it was an English class, and the whole article talks about how every people with degrees go to school and they do all of these things. And it's like they're, people that you walk by in 7-Eleven, and those people outside begging you for change are people with Harvard degrees and stuff like that. And then the people who are the 1%, the top 1%, they're dropouts. You know what I mean? And it's like, so this is my freshman year of college. So I'm already like, oh, so at that moment, I'm the type of person that once I lose respect for a person or a situation, I can no longer follow it. So from that moment, I checked out of college. You see what I'm saying? And school was always easy for me, especially school in Oakland. You know what I mean? I never did homework. I just passed all the tests. It was crazy. Like math, I never show my work. My son does the same thing. It's like it's just, I don't know. It's just a gift.
Epigenetic.
But yeah, so I'm going through all of that. And then it's just I hate basketball at this point. So now I'm not working now, and I'm in a deep, deep, dark place. I'm drinking like damn near. I'm drinking like I'm getting like a bottle every other day.
So okay, wait. So just to recap, so your journey started from playing sports really young to then matriculated into high school, right? Going to college, getting to college and realizing that it wasn't anything that you wanted to be a part of. So now you find yourself in this very dark space drinking alcohol because you're just now realizing all this stuff.
I've devoted my life to this thing that never loved me back. I love this orange ball so much. I study this game. I study it. And it's just, it never loved me back.
So it was like a divorce from like a lover who had
it was the only place I felt comfortable. In all aspects. I never got nervous before the game. And then it's like my career's coming to an end. So it's almost like that senioritis they talk about. It's like, okay, I'm almost, I don't want to play no more. I know I don't want to play no more, but then I still have that pressure from my family. You see what I'm saying? Then I'm dealing with the aspect of, okay, when I was the man, I had a bunch of family support. And then now that I'm falling out of love with it, so now my performance isn't obviously as good. Now less and less support. So there's so many layers to like, what it became, what was my second love, because I always say my mom is my first. I started to hate it and like resent it, because like, damn, I did all this and now what?
So did you explore that the fact that you can love and hate something at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that reality and like what's your takeaway from that?
Well, in hindsight, it's a blessing because I faced so many different types of adversity early. You know what I mean? To the point to where it's like, again, I have friends who still play to this day, and I'm 31. So they're just gonna hit that reality now. I've already went through it. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm already went through it, and now I know where I kind of.
Right.
They're just now about to have to put the basketball down and have to figure out what's next. They have no work experience, zero, and they're over 30 years old. You see what I'm saying? So it's like that's a reality. And then they haven't learned how to, when you become an athlete, you learn how to play through, injuries and everything. And it's the same thing with mental health. So I got so used to not, I hurt my ankle and I just tie my shoe tighter and keep running. So now when I'm facing trauma, I just push through it. I just push through it. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, I'm so used to just, all right, you got to get through this. You got to get through this. You got to get through this. And then it's like, damn, I can't get through this. Now what?
Got you. How'd you get out of that like dark space? Because I feel like there's a lot of people, everyone actually, who finds themselves in really dark spaces. And if you haven't been there to develop those coping skills or to have that experience, then what are some things that people can do to kind of help themselves get out of those dark spaces? Like, what did you do specifically to help yourself get out? Because nobody's rooting for you.
Right. I would say what I did to get out of those dark spaces. First of all, I would say that it was, you wanna wait?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So to get out of those dark spaces, I mean, I had to figure out what I wanted out of life, and I had to figure out where I wanted to be. And I knew what it would take to get to where I wanted to be. I had to make the necessary adjustments. I had to start living my life for me again. That was number one. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to say like basketball was just this terrible thing. Like my dark space started before basketball. Me being away in college and being an overthinker gave me the time to sit and really realize. So let's kind of say that, like, it kind of opened my eyes to it. And then it also let me realize that was also a part of my trauma. But yeah, as far as fixing it, it just took me time, and it took me, a lot of bumps and bruises, and I'm still going through them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of staying resilient and knowing that, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And in order to get to that light, you do have to keep going, but you have to expect those hurdles and know how to operate around them instead of letting them stop you.
Yeah. And I think also too, being in those dark spaces is a part of life, a part of the self-actualization journey and to being successful is you're going to have to learn how to deal with your dark spaces when you are in those dark spaces, and to just be patient and kind to yourself when you are in those dark spaces, because when you beat yourself up when you're in those dark spaces, it doesn't do anything to help you. It doesn't do anything. And what I've learned just through going through my own journey and also supporting people through theirs is that sometimes these dark spaces are needed,
right,
because the wisdom and the understanding, the neurological functioning, and just the hindsight growth that you get in these dark spaces are how humans learn. And if we can't accept our reality for what it is and start to create a life around that, then that's going to right there stop you from being successful, because there's a certain level of authenticity that you have to, I feel, tap into when you are in those dark spaces, to not keep, one, running from it, or two, finding yourself in them and recovering and going right back. So thank you for allowing us to explore that. So I want to talk about and this is going to sound like really crazy, but I only want to talk about this because I have supported men through this. And I know that when men are in dark times, they drink alcohol or they have lots of sex. So have you ever in your journey, or when you were in that dark space, been with a girl during those times, and like she tried to support you, but it was too much for her to take on, or did you kind of use her at that time for that time? Tell me about like relationships and dating, because that's another thing that we don't talk about. That during dark times, a person would use people for energy, right, for whatever reason,
And suck it out of you.
and while they down, and then when they get back up, then you're down. So let's talk about that.
I would say yeah, because meaning like I was wild at one point. You know what I mean?
Was it because of like you were in dark spaces, or
I
was
don't
it...
know, because again, because I'm still in my journey. I feel like I was in a dark space for my whole life. I don't remember. I haven't got to that point in my life where I wasn't in a dark space.
Got you.
Just because of I know the feeling. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't like I can't say I was 5 years old depressed, but I know how I remember being 5 years old and feeling how I feel now when I feel depressed.
Yeah, so high functioning depression.
You see what I'm saying? So, and there was times where again, me in high school, I was wild. Like my name would be. That's why I chill so much now, because at that point, it was to the point where I would meet a girl and she'd be like, "No, I heard about you." You know what I mean? Because I was so in the in crowd, because of my basketball team was one of the best and we were really popular. You know what I mean? And it was just me, being from Oakland already, and I was known in basketball and in the streets, kind of. You know what I mean? I had a mix of both. But
a lot of people are like, that's so common. We're going through that right now. I hate the word depressed. I think it's low energy level and functioning at that space, because when we talk about depression, depression is a state or mood. It is not like a person or a being. It's not who you are. It's what your energy level is at that moment. And that has nothing to do, especially if you're a resilient, focused person and an athlete, with your performance. Right. So you could be performing at this high accelerated rate, but energetically, internally, be at a very low vibrational energy. But because you're a performer, you've been taught to separate yourself from the two. You can both be in that state, ignore it, but still perform like a rock star. So I just wanted to highlight that, because depression is so depressing. Yeah, for sure. And so I don't want to like continue the
and then it has such a negative connotation that people don't want to admit it. They don't want to label themselves as that, and understandably so.
Yeah, so it's just a low energetic state or mood while you're performing. So okay, so talk to me about like when you're in that low vibrational state, but you're able to perform. Like, how is functioning in relationships or even connection with people in general?
It's almost like there's a character, right? There's a real you, and then there's a character. So it's like I'm great whenever I have that character on, but whoever can catch me in the moment when that character is off, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like when I'm in practice or in a game or, wherever I'm at in that moment. Performing. Or if I meet a girl and I know I have intentions, I'm performing still. You know what I mean? So I'm still in character. And then, but when we're spending more and more time together, and you might catch me in that moment where I'm low energy, then it's like, oh shit. You see what I'm saying? And I can admit that.
I think that we all have multiple different sides to us. I mean, just think about it. How many times have you had to change yourself?
Right. Yeah.
How many times have you had to evolve? So I just feel like, if you are a multifaceted person and believe in a spirit of resiliency, right? Then you're going to have the mindset of having a chill you and have a performance you, right? I don't think that there's anything like difficult. I think the difficulty in that when you're in a relationship is knowing that about yourself to tell the other person. Yeah. So then when the other person is in that experience with you, It's not like you're switching up or something or being. They don't know what standard to hold you to, essentially.
And when you say it like that, it seems simple. But then when you break it down, it's like, okay, first you have to be self-aware.
Yeah.
Then you have to be able to communicate that.
Yes.
And you got to hope your partner's able to reciprocate. You see what I'm saying? So it's like there's so many layers to it, which is why dating and relationships are so hard. You know, and that's why that's a whole nother topic. But
so that's also still a part of success is being able to learn and how to manage relationships. Because one thing I've learned in my self-explorational journey with success is that relationship skill building and communication skills is so much of a important factor. Like, I feel like today we always focus on performance, and that's cool for productivity. But this isn't slavery anymore. We've come a long way from the founding of America, so our ability to perform has been there. I mean, if we weren't so caught up in being competitive with other countries, just to show face and really start to give our creatives some time to slow down and regulate their nervous system, be able to really fully create, we'd probably be 10 times better than all these other countries anyway, because we wouldn't be in a rat race. But anyways, I digress. That's for a whole other topic. But when it comes to the success journey, I do believe that relationships are very vital to talking about that. I see so many professionals. I try to separate the two, but they want to talk about their master entrepreneur. No, but if you're so much of an entrepreneur, then you would communicate. And I'm going through that myself. Like, I'm an introverted person, so I am having to think of creative ways to stay true to my natural nature, so I'm not out there performing. Right? Yeah. And find a different way of approaching what success is. So what are some of the different ways you've now learned to approach success that probably a person would be like, that's not how you become a successful person?
So, for me, I almost like have conversations with myself and I try to redefine my success. You know what I mean? And just make sure I'm staying in line and what I have, like short-term goals, long-term goals. And I'm, I give myself deadline and just, I hold myself accountable. But I'm just a sponge, man. And again, it's all about what your definition of success is. For me, I had dreams and aspirations. Like, okay, how do I get to this point? And as long as I'm making steps forward and not backwards, then I'm good. And that's just me personally. I'm okay with taking. I've always been that person to where I grew up with a lot of my friends play sports, but a lot of my close friends didn't. So they always got fast money. But I've always stayed on the straight and narrow. Right? Even though I had so much temptation around me of just, my friends driving nice ass, foreign cars at a young age, and I'm, still driving my mom's car, or just all those little things. So for me, I'm okay with like that slow journey. So it's like I'm almost more comfortable. It's like when I think that when I feel accomplished is when I get content. Right. So as long as my mind is racing, I have like an end goal. I'm always excited. It's like I'm always happy, and it's like that's my recharge, knowing I get to learn new things and keep growing. So that's kind of how I maintain on my journey of success.
That's dope, and that's a great insight. Hold on. Excuse me. That's a great insight too to have, especially on your journey, because we're all in the. I think that. Lord.
It might be those plugins.
I don't know. Okay. I think that on the journey towards success, we get a lot of messages, but when we're trying to keep up with the status quo, we get mixed messaging, and we try to model our lives behind the same people we see all every day, which is why every woman right now has the same exact body. Right. Every guy has the same mentality, and you'll seldom will you find those edge of the earth people who don't ascribe to that, but they're totally weird. Right. So it's just like I'm hoping and praying that through just us having candid conversations about the reality of exploring life in general, that through this podcast, people would just start to just talk and own who they are, and we start to see individuality on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm so tired of looking at the same person, different colors, different ethnicities.
No, that's a fact.
Different locations. I kind of want to see how people just are if they were themselves.
Yep.
Like, how would you look and be, and how drastic would that look?
But it's hard. It's hard to be that though, right? Because when you're growing up, and I think we talked about this last time, is you grow up taught how to survive, and sometimes being able to change yourself, at least your outer layers, to fit in to even the way you speak.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not really want to speak that way, nigga this, nigga that, but it's the norm in your environment. So that's a survival mechanism.
Yeah. I mean, I slip up and say that in general, so it's in my heart.
Yeah,
so.
same here. But it's like, and again, I don't want to go back to, because we talked about this already, but it's the reality of us. It's the more we get to experience and the more we get to see in life, the more our imagination grows.
Yes.
Because we're taught and we're programmed to think so small.
Yes.
Right? And that kind of segues us into what I do now. It's like, I do whatever the fuck I feel like it, when I feel like it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have a title, because I might want to write a book tomorrow. You know what I mean? Which I have. I might want to write I want to do whatever I feel like doing in that moment.
Yeah.
And nobody can tell me nothing about that.
But can you have a title that just is ever changing, but you're still clear about what you do? So, like, for example, I am many things because I'm creative. I think that if you're in that creative stance, you can't just be labeled as one thing, but you can still know, like, purpose to what you're here for. So, can you have a title that represents that? And what do you think that title would need to either be or entail?
Don't think this is stubborn.
Go ahead.
I think my title is just Justin.
Okay.
I think that's the best way, like, because again, there's going to be a moment where I don't even want to have to run the studio.
Okay.
But I'm still going to be creative. I don't want to, like, now I don't edit all of my videos, but I'm still a creative. You see what I'm saying? Or there's just so many layers that I don't want to box myself into anything.
Yeah.
I just want to be because I'm learning constantly, right? So let's say if I leave here, go have some food, and I'm sitting down and I meet somebody and they're telling me about real estate or something. So now I might be that intrigued to want to go into real estate. I'm not a real estate agent, but that's still a part of me that, okay, now I might be into commercial lending or all these, all these different things. And it's like, let's take, for instance, right, when I worked for the banking industry, it's like, I never knew that there were so many different layers to different type of bank accounts, a different type of bankers. Like, there's so many aspects, like a mortgage rep. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many layers to business banker, personal banker, just so many layers. So it's like, that's kind of how I look at life. It's like, yes, I'm a banker, but at this moment, I might want to help a business account. At this moment, I might want to open up a nonprofit, or at this moment, I might want to open up an IRA account, or it's just, there's so many different just avenues and shit that I want to do creatively that I just think the sky's the limit. And then this is somebody who's I'm just now stepping into, like, a new world right now, right? To the fact that I'm getting access to new things and new resources. Who knows what I'm gonna want to do when I start to sit in certain rooms?
Right.
You feel me? I just know myself. My brain is just like, I've unlocked something in my healing journey to where there's no limit to what I feel like I can do.
Let's call it abundant mindset. All the rich people have it. So Justin's gonna be rich, guys.
Man,
I mean, I know him.
yes.
Okay. So don't forget about me when you get at the top.
Of course not.
Because I'm gonna keep your number in my phone. Okay. I know where you're going. So that's dope. So part of your self-explorational journey, what would you say were your biggest 3 key takeaways?
Self-accountability was number 1.
What stage in your your success journey do you feel like you realized that?
Well, I just made a year in my entrepreneur journey, I would say. So I left corporate America April 22nd of 2021. So I'm pretty new. I'm still fairly new, but so I knew that off the bat. Like, because I started my entrepreneurship before, but when I came fully 100%, I knew, okay, when you're ready to make this leap, you don't have a consistent income. So you have to give yourself these deadlines. You have to give yourself, you have to be real with yourself. You have to be willing to put the work in. You have to be willing to improve. You have to be willing to take constructive criticism. So that's all self-accountability. So I knew that when I wanted to say, okay, I'm done with corporate America, I want to do this.
Right.
If that makes sense.
What's your second and third one?
Um, the second one was don't create yourself another job.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't
Mm-hmm.
make your passion a job because then the passion goes away.
Right.
So that was number 2 for me. It's like, okay, when it starts to feel like work, close the laptop. You know what I mean? Close it. Like you first. You first. Make sure that you're okay first. Like if you're overwhelmed, if it feels like too much, if you need a break, go do that. Number 3, I would say networking, man. Networking and who you know was like one of my main takeaways. It's like the more people you know, the more your network expands, the more opportunity you have.
Right.
Because I could feel like I'm the best, whatever, let's say coder or lawyer or whatever. But if I don't know the people that become my clients, then I'm just another lawyer.
Yeah. So, if you were if you could reincarnate yourself into an instrument, what
An instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
What instrument?
Like
would
a
you
musical
be?
instrument.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's interesting.
What musical instrument would you be and why?
That's a very good question. I'm kind of torn between. I'm gonna say guitar.
Okay, tell me why.
One, because I really want to learn how to play the guitar. That's like on my bucket list.
Okay.
I want to learn how to golf too.
You look cool playing guitar.
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna.
golfing.
I have an uncle who's really really good at it. He said my son is decent at it. He knows his grandfather teaches him. But I would say guitar because it's like the perfect mix between a super hardcore side, but then also a soft side. Like it has both. Like you can see a rock star on fucking stage going crazy with a guitar, going acting wild, but then you can also have like a jazz player, like somebody playing the jazz or some really nice, subtle music that's just background type soft. So I think that would be me. And I just love chords. I love the type of music I listen to is just for sure guitar. But then I also like the piano. But like I said, I think the guitar has like the other side of me also.
The other side of the yin.
But I want to learn how to play the piano and the guitar. Maybe the drums too, but I think the drums are cliche.
So it has been a major pleasure getting to know you both inside and out. And I want to just say personally, thank you for just following your heart because now you're creating spaces for us to have this conversation. You're creating spaces for other people to be able to have outlets to come and do. So you're actually living out what you wanted to do. It's just you want to do it on a grander scale, but it's already happening. So thank you for being a successful man. We appreciate you. And where can people find you, connect with you if they want to work with you?
So my website is thesj10.com. My Instagram is JUS10, the number 10, _ Stanley, STANDLEY, and I'll put it in the video also. YouTube channel is SJ10 TV. It's like a network, so it has a bunch of different podcasts on there. Twitter is the same as my Instagram, and yeah, that's about it.
So, in 5 years, where will people see you at?
Oh, I'll have a huge. First of all, I want to be a guest speaker.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a big studio. It's gonna be like a one-stop shop. I'm giving myself 3 to 5 years to get that.
Okay.
So it's gonna just be a hub for creative. So if you want to have merch, if you want to record music, if you want to learn music, it's gonna just be. I want to start a pipeline of just people that come through, my lineage, and I want to create a legacy that outlives myself.
And in 5 years, we can hold you accountable for having a studio, okay, having a pipeline of people coming through here, be already in your legacy doing that, which you're already doing that, but on a heightened level. Is that all of them?
There's a lot, but we don't have time.
Okay, so we can hold you accountable for those four. So, guys, you heard Justin. You heard what he said. So, in 5 years, when the world circles back, and we're here at this time, but in a different universe, we're going to hold Justin accountable because this is real-time manifestation. I just want to thank you for coming out.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
guys,
having me.
audience. Remember, this is a place for authenticity. So we're not gonna get super scripty. We're just gonna flow as life goes because that's our reality. But I want to invite you to be on this seat too. If you feel like you have an authentic, transparent story that you want to share with us, go ahead and inbox us, DM us, and email us at team@ridgeconsulting.com so that you can start to share your also success journey or your self exploration journey. Thank you. This has been Nia with Black Self Exploration, and I'll see you on our next episode. Peace.